everything working? Okay.
It's been a long time, Snake.
I should have known you were behind this, Colonel.
Snake. Straight to the point as always.
What do you want from me?
You want another thing straight?
I just invited you here so we could
tell
have a
you
talk.
what I think about you.
Invited? One of the greatest soldiers ever.
The man they called the greatest warrior of the 20th century.
You don't mean Big Boss?
That's right. We've been working feverishly to identify the genes responsible for his incredible combat skill. So far, we've discovered about 60 of the so-called soldier genes.
So his body was recovered after all.
Yes, and his cells have remained frozen in a cryochamber. His genetic information is a priceless treasure to mankind.
Priceless to the military, perhaps.
His body was burned severely, but it was possible to restore his DNA profile from just a single strand of his hair.
Oh, heck, it's like some kind of dinosaur theme park. And you're gonna put these genes into
It's just like
soldiers?
my favorite movie,
Yes.
Jurassic Park.
We'll use a process that I discovered called gene targeting. The strongest soldiers don't become what they are by acquiring their skills through training or experience. We now know that hereditary factors are far more crucial for creating superior soldiers.
Snake, we can't hand over his body. It's more strategically important than any weapon of mass destruction.
I hear the terrorists are calling themselves the Sons of Big Boss.
The Sons of Big Boss.
I just said that.
Tell me about these next-generation special forces.
They started out as an anti-terrorist special ops unit, made up of former members of biochem units, technical escort units, and the nuclear emergency search team. Their purpose was to respond to threats involving next-generation weapons of mass destruction, including NBC weapons.
Until they were added, that is.
Who's they?
These guys didn't start out as regular army.
Looks like a pretty international group. Mercenaries?
Oh,
Yeah, and it gets worse.
Oh, that's even worse.
Most of them were from a merc agency that I think you're familiar with. They were part of Big Boss's private guard.
Oh.
And after Big Boss went down, the military just bought out all their contracts.
Outer heaven.
After that, they were merged with our own VR unit, Force 21, and retrained. If you ask me, these so-called next-generation special forces should be called simulated soldiers. They have no real battle experience.
Soldiers of the video game generation,
It's
huh?
just like the
Don't
simulations.
forget, they've all been strengthened with gene therapy. They carry genes which make them excellent soldiers. Don't get careless just because they don't have much experience.
I thought international law banned the military use of genetic therapy.
Yes, but those are just declarations, not actual treaties.
Just finger wiggling. Yeah,
The interesting thing is that nearly every member of the unit conspired in this attack.
Don't do gene therapy. Okay, I won't. Do it anyways.
How can an entire unit be subverted to rebellion?
They're calling it a revolution.
Since they all went through the same gene therapy, they probably felt closer than brothers. They see the unit as their only family.
The Sons of Big Boss. But if they were regular army, they must have been interviewed periodically by army counselors.
According to their files, They all got straight A's on their psychological tests.
Surprisingly,
They
given
all seem like
psychomantis.
fine, upstanding, patriotic soldiers.
But they all took part in the uprising?
No. Several people didn't show up on the day of the exercise. That's why there was a resupply of troops.
Was there any sign recently that something might be wrong?
There was a report a month ago that they were acting strangely.
Apparently, they consulted classified information about the soldier genes and performed their own gene therapy experiments.
They can do that, even without you?
Well, our gene therapy process is almost completely automated. And besides that, they're all geniuses with IQs over 180.
They sure don't act like it whenever
Even
they
the
fought.
existence of this genome army is a national secret of the highest order. We had been hoping to investigate this thing quietly and deal with it behind closed doors.
And then Metal Gear came into the equation from the looks of it.
High-tech Special Forces Unit Foxhound, your former unit, and one that I was the commander of. An elite group combining firepower and expertise. They're every bit as good as when I was commanding them.
So they're still around.
There are 6 members of Foxhound involved in this terrorist activity. Psycho Mantis, with his powerful psychic abilities. Sniper Wolf, the beautiful and deadly sharpshooter. Decoy Octopus, master of disguise.
And fucking dead. Well,
Vulcan Raven, giant and shaman. And Revolver Ocelot, specialist in interrogation and a formidable gunfighter.
Sounds like a bunch of cartoon characters.
And finally, in charge of them, Foxhound Squad Leader, Liquid Snake.
Liquid Snake?
Yes. And you're the only
I just
person who
said
can
that.
stand against him.
feels like every other time it's just Snake's just like repeat something. It's just like motherfucker.
Liquid Snake?
We just said
Liquid
all
Snake,
this.
the man who shares your code name. The solid versus the liquid.
Tell me what you know.
It just occurred to me on that.
He fought in the Gulf War as a teenager, the youngest person in the SAS. His job was to track down and destroy mobile Scud missile launching platforms. You were there too, I believe.
Wasn't
Didn't
there
you
some deleted
infiltrate
stuff
Western
in like
Iraq with a
the
platoon of
Phantom
Green
Pain
Berets?
involving him?
I was just a kid myself back then.
The details are classified, but it seems that originally, he penetrated the Middle East as a sleeper for the SIS.
He was a spy for the British Secret Intelligence Service?
But he never once showed his face in Century House. He was taken prisoner in Iraq, and after that there was no trace of him for several years. After you retired, he was rescued and became a member of Foxhound.
I thought that by the time I left, they were no longer using code names.
I don't know his real name. That information is so highly classified that even I can't look at it. Here's a photo of him.
Colonel, you've lied so many times. How can I trust a word like that?
Pretty shocking, huh? His skin tone is different, but otherwise, you two are exact duplicates.
I mean, he's also British and blonde.
I
But
have a twin.
I don't know the details, but it seems so. That's why we really need you for this mission.
You're the only one who can beat him. Now that I've met you, I know. You've got something that he doesn't.
Why don't I find that thought more comforting?
like that's all of them. If not, I'll just stop the recording here, and if I don't find anything and check the original intermission, then I guess that's it. Back to fighting Liquid on the fucking metal. he put. What he's doing is even worse than Vulcan Raven. At least Vulcan Raven is a tank. I can answer that. How am I supposed to get up there with Metal Gear bricks and all that? But yeah, here we go.
I need to borrow your scissors.
It's different.
What are you going to do?
Don't worry. Just gonna clean myself up a little.
Huh?
I don't want to be mistaken for the leader of the terrorists.
I went through all them cutscenes again, just for like a couple seconds. Alright. Neat.